are the signs of the last days. They are moral-based signs. Matthew 24. We'll go back to our scripture again from verse 1. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the building of the temple. They were still looking at physical things and prioritizing them. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Verse 3. And so as he sat upon the mountain, you notice that there was silence. They asked him this question in the temple. They kept quiet and he trekked until he came to the mountain and sat down. That was when they caught their breath. If this thing you are saying is true, they now came up with another kind of question that has eternal value. And the question was, as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, what shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming? And what shall be the sign of the end of the world? So the coming of Jesus itself is a sign of the end. And Jesus began to speak. And he said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. Now, the foundation of immorality in the last days is deception. And so the whole science about morality is weaved into deception. A man who is not deceived cannot be immoral. The reason you find many people fall into immoral living in the last days is because they are deluded. And as I go through scriptures, you will understand what I'm talking about. In verse 5, it says, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. So the reason deception will thrive is because men will want to usurp the authority of God and make people understand that everything God represents, they represent it. So they would not need to keep God's moral standard and still receive what God says he has to offer. So it's not just about saying a person. Now, there are many persons who have come in history who claim that they are Christ. But you see, this thing is telling us something that is deeper than people. Even systems will take the place of God in the last days. So they can come and tell you that forget about all this teaching on faith for divine health. Better adopt medicine. If you don't, you are finished. And then they will project a lot of what do you call it now? Plagues. And so people will become afraid. And so medicine will become Christ in the life of many people. And when you make medicine your God, and I'm not saying anything is wrong with medicine, but I'm saying medicine is a corridor that the devil will ride on. And when you make medicine your God, the next thing they will come back and tell you, sex is the best form of exercise. If you want to live long, better begin to practice it from the age of 17. And if you practice it regularly, your genes will be built up and you will live long. And many people who have no regard for the real Christ now, who said sex cannot be done outside marriage because the system have become Christ, they will have to substitute the law of Christ and follow the new law that the system prescribes. Because another Lord has been established. And then for those who still refuse, because this thing has taken center stage and it has paralyzed even the government of the day, the government will now start passing laws. And so you go to many nations, your child of 14 years can come home with his boyfriend and they'll be doing exercise. If you talk, you'll be jailed. Because medicine is now Lord. And they will now go further and shift it into perversion. And tell you, there's nothing special about your gender. You are actually what you feel like. Meanwhile, Christ, who is your first Lord, said, we walk by faith, not by sensory perception. But medical science now has become a weapon in the hands of the devil. And so it tells you that your sex is what you feel like. So if you were born a boy and you feel like you are a girl, it's your feeling that determines who you are. And so your father can say nothing because even the government have put an embargo. If he talks anything, he's fighting your will. And so a child of 5 years, of 7 years, who cannot choose the school he goes to, can choose his own gender. And there's nothing your father can do about it. And this is happening now in the world. And then your child, the government will pay for everything. Your child will undergo a surgery. Your child will be, his gender will be changed. And he will become a transgender. And he will become an ambassador to motivate others to follow the delusion. Now, if Christ is Lord, those subjects will not be discussed. The reason we can discuss them is because Christ is no longer Lord. Many Christs have appeared and have deceived many. You know, when you hear things like this, it's possible for you to look at yourself and say, no, they are not wise. They are darks. This is not about mental power. I've counseled with a lot of people before. I've seen young men who confide in me and ask for prayer. They are sitting with a fellow young man and a spirit is just pushing them to kiss the person. This is a young man talking with a young man. As they are talking close, he's just feeling a push. Not because he's feeling anything. Kiss the person. And he doesn't know what's happening. Now, if you don't know that this thing is beyond emotion, that spirits are involved, you will allow that thing to begin to mutilate the purity of your soul structure until it will become a stronghold. And then you will fall into that delusion. Now, in fact, what the Bible said is that the reason men will become immoral is because they are deluded. And the reason men are deluded is because they are controlled by seducing spirits. And these seducing spirits will not only seduce men, they will pioneer doctrines of devils. And it is the doctrines of devils and the seduction of these spirits that will make men fall. You know, the first man that was created, as original as he was, when the seducing spirit came in form of a serpent, he couldn't resist him. So this thing is not about willpower. It's about the power of the ages to come, walking in your spirit man. You know, the Hebrew word for the whispers of the serpent is called nakash. That thing the serpent does, he enters and penetrates the soul and reconfigures the soul structure. If you don't know how to shield yourself from that seduction, you will be shocked that you will not only fall, you will become an ambassador of immorality. Most of the people who are heading the gay movement today, they were people before who said they were martyrs. One of the songs we used to sing those days to set ourselves on fire, I heard later that the person who sang it had gone to the other side. He went the way, he moved from martyrdom into gay. How many of you have heard the song? I pledge allegiance to the Lamb. That's one of the most powerful songs on earth today. Go and search it. With all my heart, with all my strength,
I approve to honor His
He said, I pledge to honor His commands. I pledge allegiance to the Lamb. Before the song started, he was talking to his son. And he was telling him, in case they matter us and they come for you, this should be your stand. This should be your testimony. Somebody who was baptized with the spirit of martyrdom, what happened? Nakash, the whispers of the serpent, it penetrated the soul. You know what the Bible calls them? It said they are deluded. Why does the devil sponsor immorality? Through deception. Romans 1 verse 21 to 28. Hear what the Bible says. He said, because that when they knew not God, that when they knew God, I beg your pardon, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful. Hope you are seeing the consistency. Because these ones that bring this deception, they come as Christ. He said, many will come and say, I am Christ. So the first thing is to take the place of God in your life. It can be a man, it can be a system, it can be a government, it can be an institution. Anything that wants to take the place of God in your life is a weapon the devil will use to delude you. He said, these ones, they knew God, but they did not glorify him as God. Why? Because another Christ has taken over. And as they did not glorify him as God, he said they were not thankful. And so they became vain in their imagination. You see the delusion again. And the foolishness and in the foolishness of their hearts, he said they were darkened. Verse 22. He said, professing themselves to be wise, they have become fools. The word fools used here is morons. They have become morons. They are beside themselves. They are out of their minds. They are saying things that are outrightly foolish, but they can't see it. They have become morons. And so there are many nations today that are dominated by morons. No matter how big they think they are, the Bible said they are morons because they are deluded. They are beside themselves. When you find people carry placards and they are fighting to change the agenda, they are fools. That's what the Bible said. When you find people carry placards and they are contesting that abortion should be legalized, no matter how exalted that nation appears in the eyes of men, they are fools. I'm telling you, people who have understanding, they go to America today because God is sending them. And those who are not sent, they are living there. It's only a man who doesn't understand the season that is thinking greener pasture. Are you a cow? America, 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 America. What are you going to do? Is God sending you? You don't understand the times. That nation now should be a place of the convergence of warriors. Men who can stand and have enough power in the spirit to look at darkness and to judge those spirits so that the minds of men can become sane. It's not a place to go look for greener pasture. That's a warfare ground where the souls of men are being traded. And you say it's a place for greener pasture. What pasture? You don't have understanding of the times. If God is not sending you there, that place is a risk. I can tell you today, by all of, there are many people today, they are subscribing to home lessons, private education. You can't allow. A lawyer went to the school of his child, and he found some of the books they were giving them to read. Children of 7 years. And the books they were teaching them, they claim it is sex education. And they were teaching them, they were unveiling pornography, outright pornography to them, and encouraging them to practice. And the man was reading it and said, how can you expose my child? They were stopping him. He said, why are you stopping me from reading it? If you have given it to my child who is 7 years old, why are you ashamed that I'm now reading it out? Because they know what they are doing. Deluded generation.